Yeah. So we're at 7:05. I'm going to officially get started with a little bit of announcements so we can dive in. Feel free to continue introducing yourself if you would like to in the chat while we go through some announcements. We have a Facebook group. If you haven't been before, you can join our Facebook group. If you just search WordPress accessibility on Facebook, you'll find the group. It's a good way to connect with people in between meetups and different events, get questions, share ideas, and or show us things you're working on and get feedback from it. It's a great supportive group. Everyone always asks, are the meetups recorded? Yes, they are recorded. The recording will be available. It takes us about 2 weeks at this point, I want to say, because of the holidays, to have the recording edited and have a full transcript with corrected captions. But once we have that available, then we will post that up. The best way to get recordings is to either go to equalizedigital.com/meetup, or you can join our email list. You can either get to it by going to equalizedigital.com/focus-state, or hopefully, if we did things right, after you leave Zoom, there'll be a thank you window in your browser, and you can join the email list there. We send about 2 emails a month that basically have a recap of the past events and information about upcoming events and how to RSVP for them. So definitely join the email list. That is a great way to stay on top of things and know when the recording is available. We are seeking additional sponsors for the meetup. We rely on sponsors to help us cover the cost of live captioning so that this can be accessible for everyone. So if your company would be interested in sponsoring meetup, please reach out to us. There's also information on that same meetup page on our website that you can get. We don't make any money off the meetup. It's just to cover the cost because the WordPress Foundation, unfortunately, doesn't have the budget for live captionings for all meetups. So they've told us that we need to go out and find our own sponsors. So that's what we try and do. If you have any suggestions for the meetups, if you're interested in speaking, we are booking speakers for like spring-ish right now, and you'd be interested, please reach out to us. Our email address is meetup@equalizedigital.com. That goes to myself and Paula, and we'd love to hear from you about your ideas for the meetup or things you want to learn about or things you want to speak about, and have you join in. So who am I? Oh, look, we have an old slide that we failed to update. We no longer have a Black Friday discount going on. That is over, sorry. But my company is Equalize Digital. We're a certified B Corporation, a WordPress VIP agency partner, and we run the meetup mostly because we really wanted to be able to learn from other people. And I didn't have many accessibility people, especially accessibility and WordPress people, in my neck of the woods. And so starting the meetup was a great way to learn. We also have a plugin called Accessibility Checker that provides reports in the admin dashboard on some accessibility problems. There's a free version of it on wordpress.org. As we'll talk about today, it's not a substitute for doing actual testing with a human being, but it can help you to find some problems and speed things along. We have a sponsor tonight who is donating their services after the fact to do transcription and make sure that we have accurate captions on our recording, and that is Empire Caption Solutions. They are a phenomenal company who has donated their services to us for this entire year, which we very much appreciate because we were doing all those manual caption corrections ourselves. And let me tell you, when you're not a fast typer, which I am not, it takes a long time. So we very much appreciate that they do that. They also were the vendor that we used for WordPress Accessibility Day conference for our sign language interpretation. And they do audio description. They do a ton of different things around accessible video and audio. So we definitely recommend checking them out if you have need of any of those services. We have a couple of upcoming events that I want to share with you. So our next meetup will be on Thursday, January 5th at 10 a.m. Central Time in the United States. And that meetup will be how to counter arguments from developers and designers. And that should be a great meetup to attend if you are frequently getting pushback or you're trying to figure out how can I motivate designers or developers on my team or at my company or that are vendors that I work with to focus more on accessibility. And then on Monday, January 16th, Joel Snyder will be speaking in this same time slot, the 7 p.m. Central Time in the US time slot, about audio description, which is basically how you can describe visuals in videos to someone who can't see them so that they'll know what's happening and not miss out when there are visuals. So that will be coming up then. And then in February, Steve Jones will be talking about the anatomy of an accessible navigation menu. Today, we have a couple of people joining me. We try and do these once a quarter, so you may be familiar with Alex. I'm adding a spotlight to Alex's video, so he's visible to you all now. But Alex Stine, if you're not familiar, is an accessibility consultant. He's an engineer at Waystar, which is not a WordPress company. It's in the healthcare industry, but he is a WordPress and Gutenberg contributor. He's on the accessibility team for WordPress and is incredibly knowledgeable and has volunteered his time to help people in the WordPress community learn more about accessibility and make their websites or their plugins, because sometimes we do these reviews on plugins, more accessible. And of course, you have me, which I've already introduced myself. I'm Amber, and I'm the CEO of Equalize Digital. And then what I'd like to do real quick before we dive in is I'm going to pop Michelle up here and let Michelle tell you a little bit about Underrepresented in Tech, which is the website that we're going to be doing an audit of today.
Hi, thanks for having us today. I partnered with my partner, Allie Nimmons, who couldn't be here this evening, but she and I started underrepresentedintech.com because people were constantly reaching out to us, asking us if we knew somebody in an underrepresented group who could speak at an event, or they were looking to hire somebody and they really wanted to work on the inclusion and diversity within their project. Well, we didn't feel like it was our right to just start naming people and sending them, without other people's buy-in or opting in. So we created underrepresentedintech.com, which is a database that you can enter if you are an underrepresented person, or you can search, anybody can search the database, and you can enter in key factors, like you're looking for somebody who wants to be on a podcast and is an SEO expert in WordPress. And so that will give you, excuse me, they'll return people who might be willing to work with you on whatever your project is. So the whole goal was to make underrepresented people more easy to find but to increase the inclusion and the diversity in the projects and events that happen in WordPress and in tech, but in WordPress specifically, because that's our niche. We also have a podcast associated with Underrepresented in Tech. And just about every week, we miss a week here and there, but just about every week, Allie and I get together for a 20 to 30 minute conversation about things that are happening in representation in technology. And we just shoot the breeze about it and share that out with the world to see afterwards. So.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here, Michelle, and for your interest in having us give you some feedback on the website, because I think it's a really great what you all are working on. I do want to give 2 guidelines, and then I'll stop sharing and I'll let Alex take over sharing his screen. The first one is, this came up more when we were doing meetings where people could just turn off their microphone and join in. It doesn't happen quite as much now that we're in webinars. But I do like to say that it's important that we are giving voice to assistive technology users. That's part of why we run this meetup. So as much as possible, we want to, hear from Alex and his thoughts about how things can be improved or what might be different. Obviously, I'll also, maybe sometimes chime in with thoughts, but we're really focusing on the assistive technology side. So there might be things that won't thoroughly come up, like color contrast might not be mentioned in this particular call. If you have thoughts, feel free to put them in the chat. Michelle will have access to the chat, so you can do that. We do have the Q&A section. So if you have a specific question or you want Alex to clarify something, of course, Michelle can chime in at any time, but if someone in our audience wants more information about why he's recommending something, I'll watch the Q&A and I can pass those questions to him. I may pass them closer to the end though, just because I don't want to interrupt his flow as much as possible. And then the other one is really important. No bashing. The point of this is not to say that the Underrepresented in Tech website is horrible, because it's not, and there's plenty of things on it that are good. And I just hope everyone recognizes that it takes a lot of bravery to be willing to let people do a live audit of your website or your software when we have plugin developers. And so we always want to celebrate the fact that people are interested in making their work more accessible and that they are willing to take feedback. And I think that's wonderful and amazing. And we have to applaud Michelle and Ali for being willing to do that. So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to let Alex take over sharing, and then we can dive in.
Okay, let me get the screen share started.
Unmute, currently unmuted, Alt A button. Live transcription. Welcome to Underrepresented.
So I already have pulled the website up.
Visited link graphic underrepresented in tech.
So Alex,
And
Participants can now see.
your
yeah.
browser window is very tiny.
Oh
Can you
yes.
make it full screen?
How are we getting better or no?
It does not look like it's resizing to me.
Restore R. Move. Sign. Minimize N. Maximize unavailable. Welcome to Underrepresented.
Do you want me to request remote access for a second? Make it bigger.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Amy's asking if you can use underrepresented in tech to
Amber
find
Hinds.
jobs.
Equalize Digital is requesting remote control. You can regain control at any approve button. Waiting for Amber Hinds. Equalize to control your screen alert. Welcome to Underrepresented in Tech Mozilla Firefox. Welcome to waiting for Amber Hinds. Equalize to control your screen alert. Welcome to Underrepresented in Tech document. Visited link restore down. Amber closes the window. Zoom. ZVDA speech viewer. Welcome to waiting for Amber Hinds. Amber Hinds. Equalize is controlling your screen alert.
You know, so the speech viewer is in front of it and it's not allowing me to drag it. So I wonder if, I'm not sure if NVDA is causing an issue with me being able to control.
Minimum restore down.
Hold on, let me.
Desktop. More to close. Maximize. Sign up for the newsletter.
There we go. Let me.
Well, this is
stop.
entertaining.
Okay, it's big now. I'm going to stop my remote control and let you take back over. And sorry, Michelle, you were.
Yeah, I'm only able to comment to host and panelists in the chat, but I just wanted to answer Amy's question. The underrepresented in tech, if people are searching for people, it can help you find a job, but we're not a job matching and we don't post jobs there.
Great. So I think the first question I'm wondering for you, Alex, was if you come to this website and you wanted to join this database and put yourself in there, are you able to do that?
So yeah, I think that's actually possible. So unlike some reviews that I generally get to do, this website is actually fairly usable. So this will be a session based on how to improve versus nothing works and now we need to make something work.
Sure.
So we'll go ahead and start navigating down the page.
Button main nav. Heading level 1 underrepresented in tech. A free database built with the goal of helping people find new opportunities in tech. Demystifying diversity, ending underrepresentation in tech. Link submit your profile.
So that sounds like a promising start.
Visited. Submit the database underrepresented in tech. Submit the database underrepresented in tech document. Busy. Banner landmark link graphic underrepresented in tech. I am looking for opportunities heading level 1.
And this is great because we have a heading level 1 and that signifies generally where the page content starts. It saves time when you're able to jump to headings.
Fill out the form below if you are an underrepresented individual who would like to be added to our database. All information below will be publicly displayed except for the underrepresented group you identify with. All information you submit here can be edited or deleted in the future. Your form will be submitted for approval prior to appearing in the database. Heading level 3 database submission.
So one little comment, this heading 3 feels slightly misplaced. This could very easily be a heading level 2. The rule about headings is that if you're going to use headings, they need to be in the proper order because they signify importance. So heading 1 to heading level 3, not really something that's would be considered a good pattern, because the next logical conclusion would be heading level 2 for the form, or maybe even a heading level 1.
Is this a gravity form by any chance?
It is.
So
List with 16 items.
the awesome thing about Gravity forms is they are really good accessibility, but there's a few things that are just built in that, which is you can't change the heading level on the form. So the secret about Gravity forms is you should never turn on the form title, and you should always just insert your own heading because they will force it to be an H3.
That's really good information. I'll be making that change later.
List with 16 items. Heading level 2 about me.
So same deal with this like level heading 2. A heading after a heading is very rarely ever necessary.
Well, the form is broken down into sections. So you hit the first section and that was the title of that section.
So then there's an argument that you're like having a hard, it would be a hard thing to communicate by just section by section to have headings like this in a form. So these are probably, unless this form is like several pages long, not totally necessary.
Okay.
My name is. Edit required as autocomplete. Article list. My name is edit required as autocomplete lang.
So that's a nice labeled field.
Enter email edit required as autocomplete lang.
Another nice labeled field. And notice how it's announcing required. So that's good.
Confirm email edit required as autocomplete lang.
That's also announcing as a required field.
List with 10 items. Female checkbox not checked for internal use only. This information qualifies you for our database search, but will not be displayed publicly. Note: neurodiversities can include those labeled with dyspraxia, dyslexia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyscalculia, autistic spectrum, Tourette syndrome, and others.
So
Out of list others. Attention def displayed public. For internal use only. I identify within the following underrepresented group. S. Select all and apply.
it did not read this label.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was probably somewhat important information to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it read the description, but not the actual label.
That's odd.
You could probably figure it out with your context clues here, but we never want to guess about these things.
Right.
List with 10 items. Non-binary checkbox. Black, African, Asian, Latin, BIPOC, LGBT, physically, neurodivergent, older than most people. Here is some additional information about me and my work. Edit multi-line optional. This will appear as your bio on the site. Note: it's easier to connect with you the more someone knows about you, so brag a little. Blank.
All right. That label and description text is read.
Please upload a headshot to use group and browse button. Out of group and
It doesn't
Group and button.
sound like this is required, so that shouldn't be a blocker for people like me who decide to not keep screenshots of themselves.
Heading level 2. My specialties. I specialize in. Select all and apply. Heading group and button browse. No files.
Okay, let's continue.
List with 19 items. Development code checkbox not checked.
Okay, it doesn't read that level either, or label. So that's something to improve.
Website design check. E-commerce, content, sales check, diversity, business accessibility, marketing check, social media, tech support check, customer success, WordPress check, public speaking, event organization, graphic design check, product management, project management check, computer networking checkbox not. List with 6 items. Speaking on the podcast checkbox not checked. Out of list I am interested in. Select all and apply.
It really doesn't like reading those for some reason.
It sure
So
doesn't.
Alex, could this be a verbosity setting in VDA? Do you have it turned down so it's not being as verbose?
I don't. I do not have that adjusted at the moment.
Because I feel like normally, well, that one did actually read. You know what I think it does is I think it reads the first when you're hitting tab, you're going, because it's a field set is the way this is coded. And I think it goes to the first item and it reads the first item and then it reads the label after because it's a checkbox. So at least that's what I'm seeing when I look at the speech viewer.
List with 6 items. Speaking on the podcast checkbox not checked.
So it only did it on the first item.
List with 19 items. Computer networking checkbox not checked.
Okay, that's the previous list.
List with 6 items. Speaking on the podcast checkbox not checked.
That's the next list.
Yeah.
It just excludes it. That's very weird.
So on something like this, this is what's hard because you didn't build this form plugin, right?
Right.
But that would be like a support message probably to Gravity Forms
Mm-hmm.
and say like, hey, we did a test and it wasn't reading these out. Why?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll keep moving forward.
Writing a guest post check. Speaking. Organize. Contribute. FTP work checkbox not checked. List with 3 items. Email checkbox not checked. Select all that you would like to include. Clicking will open a field to input your email under links.
Okay, so that's interesting. Let's see what happens with this.
Checked. A contact form on my website checkbox not checked. Social media checkbox not checked. The time zone I primarily work in is combo box 0. List with 3 items. Social media checkbox not checked. Email check. List with 6 items. List with 3 items. Email checkbox check. Select all that you would like to include. Clicking will open a field to input your email under links.
So I'm not actually sure what that means.
Which part? I'm sorry.
About it opening a field up under links.
Yeah, it should further down the page. I can't see further down your page though to see if it actually did or not. It should toggle open. So basically the idea here is there's 3 ways for people to get in touch with you. And you can choose 1, 2, or 3 of them. Email, a contact form on your website, or via a social media. And so if you check email, it should expand open, toggle open, a place for you to put your email address. Same for
contact.
right, the form on your
Okay.
website, it would open up a place for you to put your website. Doesn't sound like that's working very well.
Let's see if we eventually find it.
Social media. The time zone I primarily work in is combo box European Central Time collapsed required. It's a good idea to choose the one you live in, but you can also choose the one you prefer to work in. The email address I would like to use is edit as autocomplete blank.
Okay, so it's there.
It's just further down.
Let's see.
The times list with 3 items. Social media check.
We check another one.
Checked. The time zone I primarily. The email address I would. The link to my Facebook profile is edit as autocomplete. Your response must include https blank.
So I've always kind of gone back and forth on these, but if you enable an option above, some part of me wonders if these fields should receive some type of required attribute since you've now enabled the option for these respective fields.
Oh, okay. Like a logical, if I check this, then this should be required.
Yes.
I like that. I hadn't thought about that, but I think it's a great idea.
Mhm.
One could make the argument, well, why would you need to make it required if you just did it? Well, we have people in the world with memory issues and other things going on, and it's just good to have the reminders.
Absolutely. We have had one person forget to put anything in this area. They checked the box, but they forgot to put their email address in. So people were finding them, but couldn't contact them at all. So yes, that's a very good idea.
The link to my Twitter profile is edit as autocomplete. Your response must include https blank. The link to my LinkedIn profile is edit as autocomplete. List with 1 items I agree checkbox not checked. I may contact Underrepresented and tech at any time to remove my information from their search function and their databases. My contact information will not be sold, rented, or distributed in a list to any other organization. I consent to having my information publicly displayed on this website via search function. The link to my list with 1 items I agree checkbox not checked. I may.
Now, this is interesting. This is not a required checkbox.
It's the only checkbox though, but it should be required. I'll have to go back and make that a requirement.
Is
With 1 item I agree checkbox not checked. I understand the underrepresented and tech reserves.
Oh, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, I think it is, but I think it's because you're not hearing
Oh, yeah.
the label, you're only hearing the description.
Yeah, I see it now. It is required. You're right.
Yeah. So Patrick commented in the chat that the form, it looks like it's using Gravity Form's legacy markup. And he wasn't sure if that might be impacting, which you can toggle on and off on the form settings.
Mhm.
So it might be worth trying to toggle that off and see if with the new markup, it reads a little better.
Yeah, we use what is now Gravity Kit to display when people search the database. And so I'm wondering if there's, we haven't updated either one of those yet. So maybe updating Gravity Kit and Gravity Forms might solve some of the problems. So I'll have to look into that for sure.
Mhm.
Submit your information button.
So if you
Now-
submit right now without the required information filled in, do you get notified that you're missing required fields?
Let's find out.
Submit the database underrepresented in tech. Submit the database underrepresented in tech document busy. List with 20 items. I understand the underrepresented in tech reserves the right to deny or remove my submission if it is. There was a problem with your submission. Please review the fields below.
That was a rather bizarre experience. So it sounds like it decided to focus the last checkbox, and then it eventually decided to focus the error message.
Yeah, very interesting.
Mhm.
At least it worked in the end,
Yeah,
but it was an interesting path to get here.
yeah, for sure.
Do you have, did it reload the page? Or do you have it set with Ajax? I didn't notice if it reloaded the page.
I have no idea if it does.
Sounded like it reloaded the page.
Yeah. So I think that Ajax is actually better on the gravity form, even though sometimes it's not, because I think it will I think what happens when you reload the page with the gravity form is it reads, it doesn't go to the right spot.
Mm.
So
Now we can see if each field is marked with errors.
List with 1 items. I agree. Checkbox not checked. This field is required. I understand the underrepresented in tech reserves.
Oh, well, now it tells me that's required.
A
How nice.
yeah.
little too late, but yeah.
It doesn't start from the top though. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Let's see. Let's get us back to the top.
Out of list. Out of list. I am looking for Submit your information button.
Oh, it really doesn't want to go back to the
Banner lamp.
top.
I am looking for list with 20 items. My name is edit required invalid list. My name is edit required invalid entry has autocomplete. This field is required. Blank.
Okay, so it announces that appropriately.
Okay.
My name is heading level 2 out of list heading level 3 database submission heading level 2. There was a problem with your submission. Please review the fields below.
It's an appropriate error message. It tells users where to start looking. So
Have you seen the WCAG fields for 2.0 for gravity forms, Alex?
I'm not.
That plugin is free on WordPress.org. And one of the things it does is it modifies this, so it will have this message and then it will list out every field below it that had an error in that error message with a link so you could jump to the field.
That's what I was hoping to see.
Yeah.
That can be very helpful to
Mhm.
just have a place to start.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I would like to note is there
Banner landmark.
at the top of the site is not a skipped main content link. So skipped main content links are very important because they are hidden links that sometimes actually get to appear based on focus. It's your choice, of course. And it allows users to skip directly to the page content and bypass the header navigation menu, which this site has a collapsed navigation menu, so it's a little bit less relevant here, but still something that users like to see on every website, including me.
Okay.
Are you familiar with those, Michelle?
I'm not, but I will be looking it up.
So if you go, if you just go to like WordPress.org, they
Mhm.
have a skip to content link. And if you hit tab, generally it would be what you would expect to be the first. I think it's actually the third focusable item on WordPress.org. But you can see it if you go there. It's invisible and then it becomes visible when you hit tab.
Great. Thank you.
So another call out to make is
Button main nav.
the main nav button does not give the screen reader user any indication if it's closed or opened.
Hmm.
So if I open it, silence.
So I think what you're seeing there, and let me open this website up real quick, Alex, is I suspect that what the website is doing is loading a button that's actually for the mobile menu. But because you're on desktop, there is no collapsed menu, but you're still getting that button. So there's a div that surrounds the top navigation, and it has a role equals button and an ARIA label of main nav, but it's not actually a button when you're on desktop. I mean, I guess it's a button, but it's a button that does nothing.
It's a button that does nothing. Okay.
Yeah,
Heading
it's a
level one.
div. I think it's incorrectly given a role of button.
Yeah, I'm not
Fill out the form below.
actually sure it should be there at all. Well, that's another easy fix then.
Heading banner landmark. Visited link graphic. Visited link
So
graphic.
does this website not have traditional pages?
It does.
Mhm.
So can you get to the different pages that are inside that div that has a role of button?
Button main nav. Heading level 1. I am looking for opportunities.
I don't think
Banner
so.
landmark. Heading level 1. I am looking for opportunities.
So like there's a menu item for podcast. Are you able to
Banner
go to
landmark.
that?
Home link. Submit the database link. Visited current page. Search database submissions link.
What in the world is this menu doing?
So what did you just do in order to get into that menu just then?
So I just forced the screen reader to stay out of my way and forward all the keyboard input directly to the website. So there is some weird JavaScript event that's allowing the focus to go on to the menu, but it's not shown all the time.
Hmm.
That, unfortunately, is not a great accessibility issue to have.
This site,
This,
it's a Divi site. We built it with Divi. So I'm not sure, how that works, but we'll definitely take a look at that.
Oh yeah, so that's why I didn't realize this was a Divi site.
Yeah.
There's a plugin on GitHub called Divi Accessibility that Campus Press has.
Uh-huh.
And you need to install that. Otherwise, that's the only way the navigation menus are going to work, because
Okay.
Divi itself out of the box, the navigation menus don't work.
Gotcha. But that
I'll
plugin
be-
will make it more accessible.
It will make it more accessible.
I'll be honest though, I was one of the developers that worked on that at one time, and I'm not sure it will fix this.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Okay.
All right.
This appears to me like some type of floating menu, and I'm not sure what's going on here.
Hmm.
So I'll post this in the chat in case you want to check it out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Paula just did it.
I see that.
She's on top of things. Yeah. Oh yeah. And
Excuse me.
Alex used to work for the team over there at Campus Press. So
Submit the database link. Visited current.
Okay, so the good thing about the menu is it marks the current page.
Home link. Submit the database link. Visited current page.
That's always a big help, so users know where they are.
Mhm.
Another thing that we should probably discuss is
Home link. Main nav button. Visited.
landmark structure on the page. So landmarks are a very useful way for screen reader users to jump around the page. You have your navigation landmark, your main landmark, your content info landmark for the footer, and complementary landmarks for sidebars. These are all very useful because if used correctly, it allows the user to kind of have an idea where they are.
Mhm.
Content info landmark. Thank you to our in-kind sponsors who make this work possible. Heading level 4. Banner landmark underrepresented in tech graphic. No previous landmark.
There are two landmarks on this page, a banner landmark, which is appropriate for the heading or the header, and there is a content info landmark for the footer. There is no exposed navigation landmark, and there is no exposed main landmark.
Okay.
So these are a couple quick items to look into fixing.
Absolutely.
mhm.
Visited link graphic underrepresented in tech.
So let's see if we can navigate to another page.
Do you want to try searching the database and see if you can find someone?
Oh yes,
Home link.
we'll go back to home and see if we can find it.
Visited. Welcome to underrepresented and diversity. Ending under. Visited link. Submit your profile. Link. Search the database. E. Visited.
Nice
Search
and
database.
easy.
0:00. 0. Button. Fast forward 30 seconds.
Now, why this did not start at the top is beyond me.
Out of frame banner landmark. Visited link.
All right, here we are at the top.
Button main nav. Heading level 1. I have an opportunity. Use the search tool below to find people who specialize in the things you are looking for or who are interested in the opportunity that you have. Heading level 4. Here are some tips for reaching out to potential candidates.
Okay, so heading level 4 here, this should be adjusted
1. Make yourself and 1. Make sure to include context. Let them know you found them through this database. Introduce yourself and explain the details of the opportunity. 2. Let them know how to start started with you and the date by which you need a response. 3. Candidates will not respond to messages that come off like spam or scams. Avoid copy-pasted messages. We recommend listening to this episode of our podcast, which provides tips and minutes it shifts about building a diverse team prior to starting your outreach.
That couldn't be more true.
So,
Frame-
so Alex, can I ask you a question? We just heard 3 things that are like 3 tips for reaching out to people, but I was expecting that to be a list. Does it bother you that it read out number 1, number 2, number 3, but it didn't actually tell you that it was coded as a list?
Not necessarily. I mean, on short list, it really doesn't matter. If you're able to make a quick little action item to fix it, then of course, if it announces a list of 3 items, that gives user initial context and the ability to use list item navigation through the list. But
Okay.
So it's
Given-
good, but it's a lower priority item.
yeah, given that that's so short and it's really, I mean, it's just so short. I wouldn't make it a high priority call out.
Okay.
Underrepresented in tech. Hiring for diversity. Button play. Seek. Button rewind 10 seconds. Button playback speed.
So without playing this video,
Yes.
this looks like a reasonably accessible video player.
Button fast forward 30 0 o'clock 0 20 navigation landmark button subscribe button share. Link broadcast by Castos.
It's
Um,
actually audio. It's not video at all.
Mhm. Do you think
It
that
doesn't matter.
matters that you didn't know that it was a video player, or that you didn't know it was a podcast player and you thought it was a video player, or is that sort of irrelevant?
I think it's irrelevant.
Okay.
I will call out that this does actually expose a navigation landmark onto the page, and this is not good. This has the potential to really confuse users, because here's what happens when navigating via landmarks on this page.
Out of frame banner landmark visited. Frame navigation landmark subscribe button share.
It lands on the navigation landmark in the frame.
That's interesting.
That was why you jumped here when the page first loaded, because there weren't any other landmarks on this website, and so it tried to find one, and that was the only one it could find.
No,
No?
I don't know why that happened.
No?
That's still a mystery.
Interesting.
Okay. So do you think this is a problem in the player? Like you'd like to see Castos fix this? Or is it more about how it's embedded on the page?
Probably a mix of both. I don't know why Castos feels the need to put a navigation landmark in the middle of a video player or audio player. And the other item is there's probably a way to represent this in such a way that we don't have landmarks exposed onto the page, maybe like a accordion for this audio player. Now that gets to be in an arguable area, because people are probably thinking right now, okay, why is the accessibility expert recommending extra steps to find content? Because at this point, I think it would probably be a worse situation to have a random landmark in the middle of the page that could confuse users.
Okay.
So another question on that too, and I don't know, because I don't use this, right? So I don't know how much you can control it, but do you have the ability to just be like, I don't want this subscribe button on my player embed?
I don't think so, but I'll look into it because I don't recall for sure.
Yeah, because sometimes that's how we approach things too, is I'm like, how likely are people to subscribe right in that one spot? Do you know what I mean?
Right, for sure.
And if you can
yeah.
just toggle a checkbox that says, don't include this when you make the embed code,
Yeah.
right? Like, then that might solve your problem without having to wait on them to code a fix.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll keep on moving.
Link broadcast by Casto. Out of frame heading level 2. Begin your search. Specialization. Checkbox not checked. Development code. Special heading level 2. Development code checkbox not checked.
So these labels are not red again.
This
You
is-
can,
Oh, it did say specialization. I heard it.
Yeah.
yes, I was exploring. So
Specialization.
you can read the labels around it if you make the screen reader do that, but
So do
Unless-
you wanna, let's say you're gonna look for somebody to come on your podcast and talk about SEO. Do you want to see if you can find somebody for that?
Yes.
Development code. Website design checkbox not. E-commerce check. Content writing. Sales checkbox not checked. Checked. Diversity consulting checkbox not checked. Business consulting. Accessibility checkbox not. Marketing checkbox. Social media. Tech support check. Customer success. WordPress checkbox not. Public speaking check. Event organization checkbox not. Graphic design checkbox. Product management checkbox not. Project management. Computer networking checkbox. Speaking on the podcast checkbox not. Writing a guest post checkbox. Speaking at a conference checkbox not. Organizing a conference checkbox. Contributing to a project. FTPT work checkbox not. Reset visited link. Search button. Content info landmark. Are you interested? Reset FTPT. Reset search button.
So I noticed visually that it actually went to those
Underrepresented
out
in
of
tech. Search
order.
database.
Like it went to the reset first, even though the reset is to the right. So I don't know if that's just like the CSS, the order of it. Normally I would want to see the focus order follow the order on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what reset does, it may or may not need to be a link. So if reset performs an in-page action, it should be a button, not a link.
Okay.
Links are for sending users to other pages or outbound to other websites.
Mhm.
0 o'clock 0:26:10. Button fast forward 30.
Okay, so the audio player has stolen focus again. That is
See
a
that?
really, really,
I was just looking, it's a frame, and I don't see that there's any settings here. I would have to go back and check on the Castos website where we pulled that frame from to see if there's a setting there. So I'll have to look into
Mhm.
that for sure.
Begin your search. Heading level 2. Joe Howard link
So
heading
there
level
should
3.
be a search button. Oh, okay. So it did actually give you results. It's just they come below the.
List with 3 items. Current page 1 link 2 link double out of list display in 120. Heading level 2. Begin your search.
so
Frame link broadcast out of frame. Heading level 2. Begin your
this is actually a little confusing. So it would be better to have these results, if possible, on a dedicated page, because you have to navigate through the page again. The first heading that kind of gives it away is
Here are some tips. Begin your search. Heading.
begin your search, but
Mhm.
we've already searched, so it's
Mhm.
more like a read your search.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
search results would be a better heading for you to know these are the results from my submission.
Right, except that
Yes.
because it did it on the same page, it's not going to change the header for that. So yeah,
Display in
yeah,
one.
I understand what you're saying. So open it in a new page would be better.
Yeah, I
You're
think
just,
so.
are you just displaying this off of Gravity Forms entries?
Yes, it's using Gravity Kit or Gravity View.
Mm. In the long run, I think it would be better if they were a post type. And then you could use one of the faceted search plugins to have like different pages. But I don't know, maybe Gravity Kit has a way to submit a search and then, I don't know.
Heading level 2. Display in 125 of 40. List with 3 items. Current page 1 link 2 link double right pointing angle bracket. Joe Howard link heading level 3.
So these are heading level 3s. That's acceptable.
List with 3 items. Current page out of heading level 4. Contact me via email. Link joe.com.
Just call out the contact me heading level 4s. Not necessary here, since heading following a heading is generally not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Graphic please upload a headshot to use.
That's probably redundant.
So that's
And-
actually a photo of the person. That's their headshot that they uploaded. So I think what you're hearing is alternative text that's not correct.
Okay, that's
Well-
very unique alt text for that picture.
So, an
Yeah.
interesting thing about this, and we had big discussions with the WP Accessibility Day website that I think might be relevant for you all, is you might want to provide a field that asks people to describe themselves visually,
Oh, that's a good idea.
right? Like if Alex wanted to try and find someone who's diverse, you might want to give him the same information that a sighted person would have
Mm-hmm.
about this person. I don't know
Yep.
if you have thoughts about that, Alex, because I know we had lots of back and forth on that.
Yeah, so my thoughts are really simple about it. It's definitely like, sighted people get this information. Why don't I get this information? That's pretty much where I leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably arguable to say that it would be better if this image was first in the DOM, or maybe I just feel like a picture at the end of the content is kind of strange. But
So
then
there
again,
is- There is actually more following this. It's left aligned, and to the right of it, there are some paragraphs, and then I specialize in with a list, and I'm interested in with a list.
oh, interesting. So the picture is right in the middle of the content.
Yes, for you, it's going to be in the middle of the content, and then there's going to be more content following it.
Howdy, I'm the founder CEO of WP Buffs, where we provide 24/7 WordPress website management and white label support services that power digital growth. Our team also hosts the WPMRR Virtual Summit, a free online conference 100 focused on helping you make monthly recurring revenue work for your WordPress business. Then there's also the WPMRR WordPress podcast. Boom. I specialize in list with 4 items SEO,
Would it,
business
so
consulting.
I have a question for you, Alex. I'm sure you hear this kind of stuff all the time. So SEO like that, it reads it out and it doesn't say SEO, right? Would it be better if it had periods? Or is it just like people are so used to that they just ignore the fact that it sounds weird?
I think after a while you just ignore it because every screen reader will read it differently based on how you represent it. So there's no given way to predict how any screen reader would read it. It is kind of interesting though that we have this like bio description, and having a hard time figuring out how to communicate this other meta information. So maybe a user doesn't want to read the description for some reason, or maybe we need to like make it clear where the bio description ends. And I
So,
think a user could definitely figure that out.
so if Joe's name is an H3, would it be better to have a H4 that is bio and an H4 that is specializations and an H4 that is interested in? And then that way you could quickly, under each person, have their name, then jump to their bio or jump to their specializations, rather than using more like paragraph tags.
I think so.
This is all right in Gravity Kit, so I have to figure out how it works
How you
in Gravity Kit.
can change the output in Gravity Kit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never used it, it was Gravity View right here. Gravity Kit is the more recent version of it. If you've never used it, you have no idea how many hours went in just to make it actually show up things.
Yeah.
So this is good information because I want to make it right, of course, so that it's easy for everybody to use. But my brain is going, oh no, now what?
So this is
Totally
another
understand.
Yeah,
piece
I
of
appreciate
feedback
it.
about this, because we actually played with this plugin and
Mhm.
considered using it on W Accessibility Day, and then we abandoned it. And one of the reasons why is that, so what you're using is called the list view. I can see that when I inspect the code, it says GV-list-view, but it doesn't actually put them in a list. And I think that it does give the number at the top, but it might be handier for Alex to be able to hear in each container, like 1 of 27, 2 of 27, because then he could maybe more easily jump back to one if he wants to.
Gotcha.
Maybe he just search for their name. I don't know if you have thoughts on that, Alex, but I think like the overall container of this for Gravity View, it would be good if you use the list view, it should make it a list.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's more like a visual list.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Marketing. WordPress. Out of list I am interested in. List with 3 items speaking on the podcast. Writing a guest post. Speaking at a conference. Out of list heading level 3 link Cynthia. Heading level 4 contact me via email. Link Cynthia and mail.com. Heading level 4 contact me through my website. Link Cynthia and com. I'm a copywriter and ex-journalist with a decade of experience helping businesses communicate better. I specialize in list with 4 items content. Right.
So are these names links?
Like the actual people's names.
Christopher Flint link heading level
Yeah.
3.
Yes, they're links.
They are. That way they can open in a link and they can share that link with other people. That was one of the feedback for the people in the database, was they wanted to have a link of our database that was just them and not back to a search. So we were able to enable that.
Okay, let's see what happens if we select one.
Mhm.
Search database submissions underrepresented in tech. Search database submissions underrepresented in tech. Document busy. Banner landmark link graphic underrepresented in tech. Frame navigation landmark share button.
It absolutely
Yes.
opens at the same page.
Yes, yes, it does.
Begin your search. Head Christopher Flint heading level 3. Visited link go back. Space G O space B.
So that is definitely a problem.
Yeah.
Go back lacks context.
Yeah.
Context is unfortunately painfully important with screen readers.
Yeah, for sure.
Heading level 3 Christopher Flint. Graphic please upload a headshot to use. Heading level 4 contact me. I just started development and customers biz spec campaigns and you've best read through under I special list with sick content or SEO. Market social word out of list with 3 I contribute FT out of list blank. Content info landmark heading level.
So it looks like the same information on these pages. They're just direct links.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so I kind of feel like it would be useful to decide, if actual post type, the WordPress structure of using posts might be better, because then you'd have more control over the content that's all around the information. And the H1 on the page would be like, if you went to it would be the person's name. So,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
WordPress would force you to be more accessible.
Alex, we have 2 questions.
Okay.
Denham said, if sighted people get this information, I should get this information. Great standard, Alex. But where's the line for you about the same information costing you extra time to receive through the reading of that alt text? Do you get frustrated with verbose alt text? Or is it like, if it's kept under 125 characters, is it okay even if it's non-essential information?
That is a great question. It's one that I'm very mixed about. I often find myself frustrated that there's never enough information, but the flip side of that is in pictures, especially graphics, you can get to a point where it is extremely overloading. My personal opinion is, I think a medium amount of information. So you should be able to get a pretty good idea of reading the alt text and understanding what's visually happening in the image.
And if it's really long alternative text, you could always just choose to stop it reading and move on to the next element, right?
Oh, yes.
So on that front, should we all kind of err on the side of being accurate, like descriptive, even if it's kind of long?
Yeah, I think in the way of alt text, more description is probably better than not enough.
Okay. And then this person, their name says Deb. I don't know if that's their actual name or if they're a developer. But can you clarify on why it's wrong to put a heading after a heading? And they said usually we put an H2 heading after an H1. Is it just that you're expecting paragraph text in between those, or is there any other context you can give about why you don't want to see a heading immediately after a heading?
Verbosity.
Because it reads out heading, level, and the number before it reads the text every time.
Yes. If you have headings back to back, it makes little sense, and headings start losing their value. Headings should not, and really, really should not be overused on websites.
So it's more about like when you were talking about wanting to be able to jump to certain sections, that's when it might make sense to have a heading, when it can be used as a navigational aid.
Yes, exactly. In the way that headings right after headings can very quickly start to become annoying and a nuisance for navigation. So it's always better to include some sort of text in between a heading unless you have a really, really good reason to not.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you have any questions right now, Michelle?
No, I'm just taking it all in.
Hopefully we're not being too overwhelming for you.
No, I mean, you don't know until you know, right? So this is awesome. I can't promise I'll have it all fixed by Christmas, but we definitely will make this a project for the first quarter. As you know, Allie and I, this is a passion project on the side. So it doesn't necessarily bubble up when we have to get, make our paychecks and all that, but we'll make this a quarter 1 effort to get this as good as we possibly can.
So Alex, there's a whole section here of logos of companies who have sponsored underrepresented text, and I'm wondering if how you feel about this section and if there's anything you notice that's good or bad or confusing.
So the footer section, we're here, why not?
Land. Content info landmark heading level 4. Thank you to our kind sponsors who make this work possible.
So heading level 4, this is another rather interesting conversation about heading levels in the footer.
Mhm.
It would be great if just no one did that.
Okay, so
Like, you
we
don't
should-
want headings at all in the footer? Or
It just
Maybe.
becomes so confusing from page content unless you like had heading 1s everywhere, like heading 1 for the main content, heading 1 for the navigation area, heading 1 that said footer.
Gotcha.
So something we do, I'm curious of what you think about this, because I don't know if you've seen this on one of my websites. Actually, I think the WP Accessibility Day has it. We have a screen reader only heading 2 in the footer, and it literally says footer. And then the headings in the footer are heading 3s. So that they're nested below the heading telling you this is the footer, like you've reached the footer now. Is that good?
That's definitely acceptable.
Okay,
and-
that's okay. All right, good.
If I remember right, I think the WP Accessibility Day website has the title as the heading 1. So it flows.
Yeah, the page title is the heading 1. Yeah, this is a little different on this site because it's like nesting content in an iframe. So
Yes. Okay, we'll continue.
Link. Are you interested in becoming a sponsor?
That's a nice actionable link.
Mhm.
Link graphic Met and business websites logo 1. Link graphic 68,747,470,733 at 2F 2F67726176697479776.
That's not named well. Is it good that I
Okay.
can laugh at my own mistakes?
I think we'll stop it for our own sanity here.
Yeah.
So this one just doesn't have an alt text defined. And when I look at the code, that's, you know how WordPress uses the file URL
Yeah.
as the title.
Yeah.
So the screen reader will try to read something.
Well, this is an easy fix. I can fix those very quickly.
Just
But
to add over
Can
here.
you open the dev console and show us this, Alex? Maybe? Because I
Menu.
think it's
Inspect
worth
222.
pointing out.
Search database submissions on link graphic control panel frame control panel document. This page uses the non-standard property zoom. Search database submissions under level 14 or FHTTPS. Gravity view
you might-
target blank new attribute a collapsed draggable 1 of 1. Expanded or FHTTPS. Level 15 span class FTP image wrap new attribute span collapsed draggable 1 of 1.
Oh man, it's an HTML mess.
Yeah, we can't actually see it. I think it might be minimized, but what I'll do is I'll copy the
Search database submit.
into the chat because what I think is relevant here is if I can, let me see if I can copy it and paste it in. No, I don't know why it's not allowing me to paste. Maybe they're not allowing HTML code in the chat. But what I noticed is that it has alt, but it doesn't actually have alt equals double quotes empty. So this might actually be a problem with Divi, because if you haven't defined alt text on the image, it should output empty quotes on the alt attribute so that it'll just skip it for Alex
Gotcha.
rather than trying to read out the title. And so I think that might be a problem in the theme, that it's not putting empty
Yeah.
alt text when there is no alt, if that makes
But-
sense.
But I should go back and enter the alt text in so that it's described. That's what I'll do for sure.
And it might also be a good idea to
Link graphic Met and business websites logo 1.
not include logo 1.
Right. Well,
That-
that's because that's that's the title of her logo, I think. Right. So,
That's like useless information though at the
Right,
end of the day.
but if I put alt text in, you'll get that instead, correct?
That
Theoretically, yes.
Instead
Is-
instead of
are
the
these-
file name, I mean.
E-T-A-A-N.
that's right. That's the file name. Never mind.
Okay, yeah, so if I put it alt text, everything, this should be an easy fix if I can get the alt text in there.
Mhm.
See, that was a tricky experience. That sounded close enough to alt text for me to believe it.
Yeah, because of the name of the file, yeah.
Okay, moving
So
on.
I have another question for you, Alex.
Oh, yes.
Are you at all interested in having things like this displayed in a list so that you would get to it and you'd know immediately how many different sponsor logos there are on the page?
That would be nice because at this point I have no idea how many I'm about to go through.
Yeah, so right now it's like with Divi, what it does is it puts it in a div. So if you're able to use a list element, like an unordered list, then it would read out one of, I don't know, 12.
Could you do that with columns though? Because that's, I mean, I don't want them to live
So
on
this
the
is what-
page, right?
Yeah,
But what I could, but what I could do though is I could put that in the alt text, right? I could put that Hand Business Websites logo 1 of 9. And I could do that so that you would at least have that kind of information, or is that not good?
I
What do you think?
mean, better than nothing.
Okay,
so yeah, I think that's like a decent workaround as long as you remember to be consistent when you
right,
if
for
you move
sure.
them around. I think that's one of the challenges with some of the page builders is that like what I'm talking about, putting it in a list would be ideal, but it would require somebody to probably write custom CSS to remove the bullet point and make them format like you want here,
Yeah.
which is more work than just using the columns from Divi.
Right,
or
and I'm not a
any page
developer,
builder,
so
right?
yeah. So could you tell me, these are navigating across and then down, is that right, Alex? So the next one was the gravity view, really long title. And then the next one after that should be give. If that one.
Link graphic 6616,765,730.
He's just gonna keep reading it because he likes it.
I know, he just likes to give me, you can't see it, Alex, but I'm blushing. Is the next one give? I just want to make sure that they go in the right order so that when I do that. Yeah, okay.
Link graphic give logo large.
And then newsletter glue should be next. Okay, perfect. Then I know how
Link
to do
graphic full
this.
logo.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get through the rest of these.
Link graphic download. Link graphic follow. Link graphics. Link graphic web. Link graphic logo V. Link privacy graphic logo. Link privacy policy. Link
So
terms
these
conditions.
side-by-side links, what do we call those? Inline links. Those are always a bit weird to read because the first one it lands on is the one that your enter key will activate. So it's always better to have block level links.
To
And
have
I'm
what?
sure-
Say it again. I missed what you said.
It's a CSS thing, block
Okay.
level links versus inline links.
Okay.
And that is the end. So
Link privacy.
Yeah.
So the other major thing on this website would be the podcast. And I don't know if we've
Right.
sufficiently done that, but I don't know if you'd be interested in going and just checking out the podcast and seeing if you're able to listen to the podcast or subscribe to the podcast if you wanted to do that.
And it is in the primary navigation, but
we
Banner
can
landmark
figure out a way to get there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Give logo large link. Full logo link.
but that's not it.
Screen, regular privacy terms, browser tab, open nav, no tracker combo, enter reader, save to pocket, search database, banner landmark, main nav button, home link visited, submit the database link visited, search database submissions link visited, podcast tree link.
oh, it's a submenu because it has a 3 after it. Thanks,
It is.
Debbie.
Visited, feed underrepresented intent, frame navigation landmark, share
It is
button.
also, I will say it's
0
also
o'clock.
weird that it told you 3 because there's actually only one item in the drop down. So I don't like, even though it didn't work anyway, but it's also giving incorrect information too. So I'm not.
Sometimes Divi replaces that down arrow with the number 3. So it may have been reading that.
Yeah, it's
Divi is really weird in how it does that.
that's
that
not
character,
a
that
count
icon.
for like the submenu items. That's just Divi's sad attempt at placing a down arrow icon.
Yes, exactly. Until it kicks up. Sometimes you'll go to a Divi website and instead of a down arrow, it'll say 3, 3, 3, 3. And you're like, why does they all say 3? But it's because of that.
or,
Okay.
the long outstanding accessibility bugs.
Well,
So I
yeah.
think this might inadvertently be turning into a don't use Divi meetup.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We just redesigned the site this year. I don't know how y'all feel about Cadence, but I've been using Cadence a lot more, and I think I might redesign it next time. Not in Divi.
I haven't done much with Cadence. Have you checked out any Cadence sites, Alex?
I have checked out some. It seems to be, I think, definitely better. I don't want to get anybody else in trouble, so
Well,
I
I
think
work at
I'll-
Stellar. I work with Cadence, so you can be brutal if you need to.
I'm being careful how I deliver my feedback.
No offense taken.
Okay, so we'll
Out
start
of frame
at the
banner
top
land.
of the page.
Podcast heading level 1. Heading level 2 latest
So
episodes.
my comment still stands about the heading level 2. You could very easily make that a latest podcast episodes title,
Mhm.
maybe.
Heading level 2 link how important is setting to building community.
Those in theory should be, I guess those should stay heading level 2s, given the
Yeah.
above is fixed.
Basically, those are the episodes. So those
Decade,
are the post
2022.
types that's going to open in a new. It's going to open the page for that particular podcast because it's going to have the transcript and everything on it.
Link read more. Heading level 2 link how leadership deck
Read
2. Link read
more.
more.
These have got to go.
Okay, what should it be instead of read more?
Read more title here, or just read more can vanish completely since these are so short. I mean, unless there's any excerpts on these.
There aren't any excerpts.
Yeah.
If you open it, it opens up to the whole episode with the transcript.
Yeah,
So- Yeah, so the point is that it should be either have hidden screen reader text that appends the title, like so it would
Mhm.
say read more, and then the hidden part would be about how leadership affects teams.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or it would have an ARIA label that's just read more of how leadership affects teams on the link.
Okay.
That would be the correct way to do that. But I
Okay.
think Alex's point of maybe you don't need read more at all is
Mhm.
probably good because there is no excerpt. It's just the title and the date.
And the
And
title's
the
already
title
lit.
is a link.
Okay. Yeah, we could ditch
Like
those.
you're
very
not really
easily.
reading more of anything. It's like
Yeah.
start reading, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
For
and
sure.
for anyone wondering why this is so important, here's what this looks like from a plain links standpoint.
Elements list dialog. Preview. Level 0 read more 5 of 35. How to be inclusive with holiday marketing messages 6 of 35 level 0.
Read
Read
more
more 7 of
what?
35 level 0.
What if instead of read more, it said something, the link itself said full episode and transcript? Would that be helpful? Because then you know that link actually gives you the full episode and the transcript.
Full episode and transcript for ?
yeah, see,
well,
you'd still want it to include
the title.
the title.
Okay.
Because the point is that if you just look at a list like this,
Mhm.
you should know what every link does or goes to.
Okay.
So anything, so even like pages where there's downloads and it's like download, download, download.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, download
Yeah.
what, right?
Right.
So it always needs to be explicit about what it is without any surrounding context.
Gotcha. Okay.
Feed underrepresented. How leadership affects teams underrepresented in tech. How leadership affects teams underrepresented in tech. Document busy. Banner landmark link graphic under 1 comment heading level 1. Banner landmark. How leadership affects teams heading
That's
level
so
1.
weird. Okay.
What specifically?
The
Banner
focus
landmark button main
stealing.
nav.
The focus stealing is interesting.
Heading level 1. By link Alien Deck 2, 2022 link podcast episode link 1 comment. Frame graphic how leadership affects teams. Underrepresented in tech. How leadership affects teams.
Yeah, I
Button
think that
play.
will
Seek.
probably
Button
be
rewind
a
10 seconds.
really large action item for you. Figure out what you can do with these third-party players, because the way
Yeah.
it steals focus on all these pages it's an issue.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Button playback button fast forward 0 o'clock 0 20. Navigation landmark button link broadcast out of frame in this episode. Ali and Michelle discuss how top-down decisions, changes, and culture should affect entire teams. Leadership can mean that let them make important change. Heading level 1 comment. List with 1 items graphic John Locke. Link John Locke. Thank you for appreciate what link group out of list. Heading level 3 submit a comment. Your email address will not be edit required out of edit required as auto edit required edit as autocomplete website. Checkbox not check save button submit search landmark edit as autocomplete.
There is a transcript on this
Well,
page.
It doesn't look like Allie put the transcript on that page. I don't know why. Maybe it's still being transcripted. I don't know.
Of course, I picked the only one.
No, there might be more. I don't know. That's we split the work, but ideally it's supposed to be there. So I don't know why it's not, but that's definitely something to look into as well for sure.
Frame navigation
We have
landmark
human-
subscribe button share. Frame navigation landmark list with 10 items how leadership
We
affects
do have
teams. Heading
human
level 2 button.
transcriptions.
How important is setting the building community. Heading level 2 button. Listen here. Heading level 2.
Stumble onto here.
Heading level 2 link interested in sponsoring the heading left frame graphic cover image. Underrepresented and tech. How important is setting button play. Seek. Button re button playback button 0 navigation list with 10 button heading level 2 button deck 0820 button WordPress community from Twitter to another platform. Check out Niosh out of list out of frame podcast heading level 1. Latest episodes heading level 2. How important how leadership
So do
affects
you
teams
want us
heading
to
level
tell
2
you what
button.
we're seeing, or do you want to keep trying to?
I'd
figure out what
love
you
to know
found?
what this is.
So this looks like, I'm guessing it's also from Castos. Instead of an individual podcast episode player, it's like a feed. So
Yeah.
you can hit play up at the top and that would play the most recent episode. But where you are right now, and I think why it's telling you it's a button, is it's like the second episode. So I think if you triggered that, it would change what you could play up at the top, or perhaps it would autoplay. I'm not certain, but it's like something that shows many episodes all at once in a player.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's definitely a problem.
Out of list out of frame
I
and
think it's too much of a change of context on this page. We go
latest
from
episodes. How important how leadership affects
the
teams visited
first
link
2
heading level 2.
episodes.
Frame list with
Maybe
10
a
items how
change
important
of
is setting.
Context with this frame.
Yeah.
Would it
Too
help
jarring.
if there was a heading above this that said like, that communicated in some way to you that this is like, you know, episode player or something? I don't know what to call it right now, but like, would that help with the context so you understand when you're tabbing what you got, what you're going to get into? I mean, you wouldn't read the heading if you tabbed, but
Yeah, that's kind of the whole problem. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure what you do here.
I'm gonna come up with some solutions.
I mean,
Button graph out of list navigation landmark.
if there was a heading, at least you would, if you did hit tab and you got into this, then you could have it read content above and get the heading and understand where you were,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Well, for me, it feels like this page either needs one or the other.
Oh, like you either want the player embedded or you want the excerpts to go to the single post. You don't want both on the same page.
Yes.
Okay.
0 o'clock 36 navigation landmark button subs 0 button rewatch seek button how under graph out of deck 2 when heading level 2 visited link how leadership affect link read more heading deck 2 visited link frame graphic cover
So I
image.
can't actually find a way to view more episodes unless there's only 2.
Well, there's
Uh,
definitely more than 2.
There's more. So I think what's happened is the way this has been built out in Divi is that the top is a 2-column section and there's 2 episodes. And then on the left column and then on the right column is this player. And then below it is another container with a 3-column section that shows more episodes. I suspect that these aren't actually in, like the 2 most recent are in a separate container, which is why. So you'd have to go past this entire player
And
and
items
then you'd
how
be able
leadership
to
affects
get to
teams
more
heading level 2 button
episodes.
how to be inclusive with holiday marketing messages heading level 2 button.
Well, they're all heading level 2s as well, so this is going to take a while.
Stop saying woke seriously heading level 2 button when hiring red flags are N39T really red flags heading level 2 button WP accessibility day FT Amber Hinds heading level 2 button living with and without disability accommodations FT Kathy Zant heading level 2 button reverse racism is not real heading level 2
Yeah,
button.
it's not gonna let you get past the player until you go through all of them, it looks like.
So
Okay, new plan.
Frame
um,
navigation landmark subscribe.
there was a
Let's-
question, Alex,
Oh,
or a
okay.
comment in the chat. Alicia was wondering, Would it be helpful if the player was placed in an aside landmark? So that it's not in the main and the other content's in the main?
That would be preferable. If it was to be done, that would be preferable.
Are you able in Divi to choose what HTML tag you want to use for your containers? Like, is there a drop down like in Elementor you can choose what you want it to be?
I don't remember, but I'll have to look.
Somehow I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, so that's maybe a good idea that Alicia
Yeah.
had, putting it in an aside if you're able to, maybe.
Or what if we had the player on a separate page altogether?
Yeah, and that's just like, you know, listen to all or something
Yep,
is like
exactly.
the navigation menu item. And then
Just
otherwise, yeah.
Just don't put it in a submenu item because there's no way to get to those in Divi.
Hopefully the Divi accessibility plugin fixes that.
It fixes some. It fixes
Mhm.
some.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so moving past this, maybe.
Out of frame content info landmark link. Thank you to our anti-frame imposter syndrome heading level 2 button. Reverse racism is not real heading level 2 button.
Oh my gosh, we have more buttons. Okay.
Living with and with WP when hiring red flag. Stop saying woke. Serious. How to
You're
become
going
leader.
through the player
Heading
again,
level 2
that's
button.
why.
I think there is a way to get past this player.
It doesn't
Oh,
seem
you
so.
know, actually, here's what I think is, I just realized about this page. This player is on this page twice.
Which page?
So
Oh, it is. Oh,
I
that's
see it
terrible.
at the top of the page, surrounded by and then I just scroll down. The one that you're on right now, Alex, is kind of in like a second section lower down on the page.
Yep.
Interested in sponsoring the podcast? Google 5 link. Audible 5 link. Subscribe heading level 2. Reverse racism is not when you're hiring red flags aren't red flags link heading level 2.
Oh,
Yes, so
more
now you're
links.
back into the entries.
Yeah.
When you're hiring red visited link. Submit a comment heading level 3. Banner land. When you're hiring red flags aren't red flags heading by link alien not maybe when hiring or forward with someone unconscious frame graphic when I button C button button 0 navigation link broadcast out of frame heading level 3 submit a comment. Your email address edit required of edit required edit check button submit search landmark button search heading level 4 recent post.
So I think that kind of tells us, unless there's anything else you feel like we should point out about this, I think there's one other area that might be useful to look at, which is the resources section.
I was really hoping we were going to find more of the transcript, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be.
I guess not.
Glenn did say that there are some with transcripts. He commented that. So do you want me to find one real quick? Because you're interested in looking at the transcript?
That would be good.
Okay.
How do we
Alicia said it's the one Michelle did.
How do we
Anybody have one? You can throw a link in the chat real quick. Let me see. Oh, yep. Okay. So it is titled, if you want to search for this, disability and accommodations is
Banner
the
landmark.
first part of it.
Find dialogue. Type DISABILIT. What is AND? And feed on the frame list with button. Button. Michelle talks with Kathy Zand about this button experience as a character.
Yeah, not there. Because that's in the player.
Holiday marketing message. Find feed on heading level 2 link disability and accommodations. FT Kathy Zand.
Okay.
There you go. Yep. So if you go to that one, it has a transcript.
Disability and by link alien Michelle talks with experience comes to living frame graphic living under a living button C button 0 nav link broadcast out of frame heading level 2 episode transcript.
Okay, so it has its own heading. That's what I was after.
Michelle. Hi, Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy.
So the heading is good.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, I think it's good that you just put it visible on the page rather than making it be in like an accordion or something like that.
Yeah, we don't I try not to do that as often as possible. Especially since there's nothing else that toggles. Like an accordion to me needs more than one thing, right? So if it's just the episode transcript, it should just be there. I'm sorry, my voice is so horrible.
It's all right. We're all making it.
So you won't be able to get to this in the navigation, but could you just go to underrepresentedintech.com/resources?
Navigation
That might be the last page that we could look at.
Disability /D. Disability and selection room RELURCES resource article document navigation.
I have a feeling this page is going to be a nightmare.
Visited link graphic underrepresented in tech.
Okay, the screen reader stopped talking.
Button main app.
There we go.
Heading level 1 resources. Heading level 2 looking for more. As you connect with people through our database, find resources that can help you grow your skills and career in tech. Link job search. Link tech resources. Link business tools.
So this could very easily be a list.
Yep, for sure.
Link inspiration. Link monetization.
So do you want to follow
Ellie.
one of those links? Those are anchor links that link down to a different part of the
Link
page.
monetization. O-N-E.
That's
So
all we got.
it scrolled, but what I suspect it did not do is shift your focus. So if you hit tab, where does it take you?
For Ali's link.
Yeah. So what it did was this is super common in like almost every page builder. It scrolls you down, but it doesn't shift the focus. And if it shifts the focus on the container, then it should have read out to him like the monetization headline. And then if he hit tabbed, it would go to the first link in that group.
Do you think that, I mean, from a design standpoint, accessibility or not, do you think that the buttons at the top are important? Or do you think that there's limited enough information that we could just list it out?
I mean, I think
they look
what's
pretty.
good about that is that it allows you to see the groups that are available.
Sure.
And even I think for your purposes, right, it would be nice, Alex, to know what groups are available without having to go all the way through them all.
Nice general overview.
Yeah.
Would this
But
be
it
something,
needs to have the jump link fixed.
would this be something that would work in a accordion?
Yes. Yes,
Oh.
an accessible one. So
Yeah,
So you'd make each group an accordion and then you could expand it.
that's what I was thinking or wondering
Yes.
about. Because you could, then I could put the list in each accordion, so that wouldn't have to be 4 across. It could list them down then, right?
And then
Okay.
when you first load the page, you would see just those headings, job search,
Right.
tech resources, those things.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do believe the Divi accessibility plugin makes accessible accordions. So
Okay, well,
there's
that's
that.
good to know. Good, okay, yeah,
Okay.
that
And
might be a
then-
good solution.
And then the other thing
Heading level
within this, yeah, if you want to go into one of them.
Tech resources heading level 2. Link guide to accessible front-end components. Link resources for learning WordPress. Link WordPress plugin development course. Link learn JavaScript with Go Make Things.
Yeah.
Heading level 2 business tools. Link how
So
to
if
set
we
your
made those lists, then you'd know how many links were in each section.
Yes.
Okay,
But
I'm
the
learning
heading,
so much. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else, any other questions? And then there's one other question, but I want to see if you have a question, anything else that we could look at, Michelle, or that you'd be interested in getting feedback from, just because we're nearing the end of the time for the meetup.
Yeah, no, I think we've covered a lot of it. So, and I mean, this is certainly enough for me to get started making it better.
Well, and I think, we're like progress over perfection, right?
Yeah.
And like little bites at a time. And obviously we know this isn't like your business that you make a ton of money off
Right,
of.
but I still want
all of
to,
that, but yeah.
the whole idea is the underrepresented database serves underrepresented communities. And if somebody who is blind or visually impaired can't use it, then we're not serving who we say we're serving. So I really want it to be better so that it does serve everybody.
Mhm.
yes, and as I mentioned, this one might have been not as quote unquote entertaining for everyone because it's not like it's completely unusable.
Well, thank God.
But
Mhm.
I think it was still educational in the way that even small issues can have some fairly interesting impacts.
Yeah, and for sure, obviously, we want to do well, and we did put some thought and effort into it. We just didn't know what we didn't know, and now we do. So, yeah, fantastic. I really appreciate all the feedback on it. So, I'll make sure that I get it all fixed, and then Alex, I'm sending it to you so you can put yourself in the database.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So the last question that we had, Alex, Bruce was wondering how you like to see transcript marked up, if at all. There's a preference there.
Yeah, probably not at all, really. That's a really interesting point, actually, because there is some transcripts that are nice and plain, name, colon, what somebody's saying.
Mhm.
Some it's name, new line, then what they're saying. That's really fine to me. Then you have products like Microsoft Stream in the enterprise world. It is this very, very dynamic list that is searchable, and you can actually jump to different timestamps in the video, and it is so hard to use. So to answer the question, plain is generally always better.
Okay.
And you just like to have a heading above it that says transcript. So if you want to find it, you can find it easily.
Yes.
Cool.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Alex. And thank you,
My
everybody in the chat. And if you're not able to download the chat, Michelle, let me know and I'll send you one.
Thank you.
We have to do a little wave and smile at the end, kind of like this week in WordPress, but it's mostly because I have to watch and make sure that the transcript gets fully updated in case we have anyone here who's relying on the transcript, because I learned I unfortunately into them too quickly and then they miss out on the last few sentences.
Sure.
So thanks everybody, and we will see you all back after the new year.
Thank you.